Cycle 1, week 13, number 121, tilt. So this one is going to be all about the Earth and its lines of latitude and the sun and seasons and the hemispheres. So I like to start with an actual globe, and you can, I'm just going to provide these inflatable ones because this is the easiest for me. I think I found these at the dollar store. We can point out the equator here, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. We could find where we are. Or I'm approximately right here in North Carolina. So you can talk about a real globe for a minute, and then every class is going to have a ball of clay. So turn this into the earth. So just make it round, and it's not going to be perfect. So it's a good time to just mention like the earth is not perfectly round. If there was no water on the earth, you would see that it is has lots of very deep spots and high spots from the mountains. So it's not perfectly round. So it's okay if our earth is not perfectly round either. So just like we saw in our globe, we're going to create the equator, which is just a line around the middle, right? So I'm just using a pencil to draw a line around the middle. And then above the equator, and this is a good time maybe to talk about those, what are those called? The like north, south, east, west. I can't remember what that's called. Directional signs. So we can talk about north is up. So this is the northern hemisphere. So I'm going to put a little in there. This is the southern hemisphere. Okay. And I'm going to just draw again where we are located. So the United States is in the northern hemisphere. So I'm just going to roughly draw the United States. And then we're located on the East Coast in North Carolina. So I'm going to just put a big old dot right there. And that's my United States. And we are there. Now our pencil is going to become our axis because the Earth is on an axis. So I'm going to jam it through the bottom, up through the middle as best as I can without stabbing myself. Okay, I twisted it to actually this is my second time doing this, and that didn't crush the ball as much as just pushing it did. So try twisting it through to not end up with like a donut shaped earth. But whatever, it's really okay. Okay, so the earth is on an axis and it's not perfectly up like this, it's actually leaning away. So the northern hemisphere is leaning away from the sun, which we're about to get out in a minute. So the earth does rotate. It rotates all the time like this around the sun. Like if I'm the sun, then it's going to rotate around like this, always on this axis. And we're going to have a sun now. We're going to use a flashlight. Remember that the sun is a ball of light with light coming out from all sides. Our flashlight doesn't do that. So we're just going to make sure we keep our flashlight pointed at the part of the earth that we are saying is getting the sun right then. Because as the sun rotates, of course, there are parts that are facing away from the sun at that moment and parts that are facing the sun. So we're going to keep we're going to simulate that with a flashlight. So even if you don't have a super dark room, this is going to work out just fine, like as you can see in my video. So I think an adult should be the sun. Even if you pass off different parts, you might want to hang on to the sun just so that you can make sure that it's pointing the right way. But this is where we are going to be starting to talk about seasons. And the seasons are caused by the sun shining on the different hemispheres and how much heat that means those different hemispheres are getting in the different sides of the earth at a time. So like right here where I'm pointing, the part of the earth that's the closest to the sun is the southern hemisphere. So the southern hemisphere is going to be warmer this right now, the way I have it, than the northern hemisphere. This is probably going to be fall or spring. And as we rotate around, as the earth rotates around, it's going to eventually have it where the northern hemisphere is going to have most of the sun. That's going to be our summertime. And then the back, whenever the United States, which is, I have it right here, when it's on the back and it's facing away from the earth, that's going to be winter time, right? That's when we're the coldest because we're the furthest away from the sun. We're pointed away from the sun as we're rotating. So you're going to demonstrate all four of those seasons. And I think an easier way to show that is to give 4 of your students these. I made plates, just paper plates with all the different seasons. So give 4 kids seasons, have them stand in a circle holding one of these up. showing all the seasons. Have the sun stand in the middle and make sure that the sun follows the earth around. And then someone holds the earth and make sure that the earth is tilted the correct way. And they're just going to walk around the season circle, rotating the earth slowly. And you're going to just be able to see and talk about what the earth, like how the sun is hitting the earth during those different seasons. So that's going to help give that visualization, help visualize that even better. So that's the first one. And I love Nicole Liam's notes. That's what I'm referring to. She uses the Van Cleef thing, but she adds a lot more discussion questions to it, and she adds a little bit more meat to what you can talk about. So you can get these for free at showmethenotes.com, but you should definitely donate to her because she is doing a really excellent job. So she has some great pictures here that you can print off in color that show what I was just showing with the seasons. A picture here that just shows one spot going through all the 4 seasons, and this is a great time. Like, we're just trying to get the kids to talk, right? So you can talk about, what is your favorite season? Why is it your favorite season? What are some of the distinguishing features of each of the seasons? And that might be a good starting discussion before you've even started this. So the second little demonstration for this week is number 127, sinkers, and it's going to involve a glass jar with half full of water, 1 cup of soil, and there are 5 paper clips in here. I got this glass jar. It's a locking jar. I got it from Walmart for like $2. I shook this up before I started this video because I wanted to give this time to separate, because that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at how this separates. So when you get a hold of this, all the things will already be in there, and another class may have already even shaken it up, but you shake it up. When I shook it up, it still dripped a tiny bit, so just don't go nuts with the shaking. But, shake it enough to mix everything up in there. And you could talk about what you think is going to happen in there. Of course, that's what's in here. That's what's going to help your discussion time, right? You always want to make predictions about what you think is going to happen, but what will happen, what you'll see. And I think the longer, it may be even a good idea to shake this up at the beginning of science time to give it as long as possible to separate, because this has already been sitting here for about 15 minutes and it's not as separated as I thought it would be. But look, you have a flashlight that day, and when I shine the flashlight, this shows a lot better what we're hoping to see, which is that these parts have separated. So the lighter parts of the soil are floating. The water's in the middle, and it's nice and dirty, but it's all still separating. And then down here on the bottom are going to be the heavier things, but most important to note is that the paper clips are on the bottom. So this is when you talk about geologists and mineralogists and gemologists and how the metals and things are heavier. So when erosion happens and when the ground shifts and shakes and loosens, and with rain and the soil gets all churned up, the heavier things are going to sink down. So you can talk about mines, and where are mines? Like, where do miners work? They work underground, because those things have over time gone down because they're heavier. So we have to dig beneath the soil to find some of these different deposits that have sunk down because they're heavier. So this is just helps us visualize what's really happening when the earth shakes and loosens and sifts around from all the different various natural causes. So yeah, that's really going to start us on talking about, because we're going to talk for many, many weeks, different things about soil and rocks and minerals. So this is kind of introducing that idea. So again, yeah, I do recommend that you go ahead and shake this up at the beginning of science class and then set it aside, do your seasons one, and then come back to your hopefully separated enough to talk through sinkers one. So that's week 13.